What's up, guys? Welcome back to Keeping It Real. I'm your host, James, joined by Jack today, and we're going to discuss the Banshees of Inisherin. The Banshees of Inisherin, Jack.
Inisherin.
Inisherin! Before we get started, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Keeping It Real UK. From there, you can find the links to our YouTube, Instagram, and all of the streaming platforms. So the Banshees of Inisherin, directed by Martin McDonagh, who you'll know from films like In Bruges, Seven Psychopaths, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, starring Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Kerry Condon, Barry Keoghan, released on 21st of October 2022, and currently sits at a huge 99% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. So the story is set on a remote island off the coast of Ireland. Podrick is devastated when his buddy Colin decides suddenly to put an end to their friendship. With help from his sister and a troubled young islander, Podrick sets out to repair the damaged relationship by any means necessary. However, as Colin's resolve only strengthens, he soon delivers an ultimatum that leads to shocking consequences. So, spoiler-free, Jack, what did you think about the Banshees of Inisherin?
I loved it. You got my hopes up a bit because In Bruges is one of my favorite movies, and you said it was better than In Bruges, which I don't agree with, but it was still bloody good. I just like how it's such, on paper, the concept is juvenile. It's a grown man who decides he doesn't want to be friends with someone because they're boring.
Well, there's a line that Barry Keoghan says, like, "What is he, 12?"
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But then it takes this weird turn through the whole movie, and there's also something that I wasn't sure about, which we'll discuss in the spoiler section. I think there's a lot of things in this movie that aren't said that could be relevant to the reasons why he doesn't want to be his friend anymore. It's one of those things where I think this kind of movie, the comedy is so funny because it's so mundane, but it's so aware how mundane it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The way all the islanders talk to each other. If you spoke to me like that, I'd be like, "Fuck, that's boring." but it's just so repetitive, and they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That it just really, really gets me. And I think that Colin Farrell in this movie, I think he broke my heart a bit. Every time he was sad, I was like, God, I literally was looking at the screen at Brendan Gleeson. I was like, "Oh, just be his friend, you prick." I was like, he's going to all he does is go to the pub with you. You're there anyway. You may as well be his bloody friend. There's very little about this movie that I didn't enjoy, if anything, to be honest. I think everyone I find they're such a weird duo. I wouldn't, just because they're both Irish, but I wouldn't put them together generally. But they both, is this only the second movie they've done together, or have they done more?
I think the second. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think the second.
Yeah. And the first one they've ever done is one of my favorite movies of all time, and this one is definitely in the top 5 of this year, minimum, maybe even top 3. So it's just a great partnership. And if they kept doling out movies like this every couple of years, I'd go watch all of them.
Obviously we disagree on the ranking. I thought this was a lot better than In Bruges. In Bruges I think it's got the comedy, but this has got something much bigger, deeper behind it. Outstanding work from the entire cast. Colin Farrell, he really did break my heart, and I thought Kerry Condon was fantastic as well. Like you said, it's a simple story. It starts out in such a juvenile place, and then that does get blown out of proportion because of the way these characters react to what that is. There is that same sort of dark, savage humor that is in all of McDonagh's work, and I like you said, because I think it is so mundane in this film, and the performances are really backing the humor up. It really, really worked for me, and such a perfect balance of humor and tragedy, where in the same minute I could be laughing and then and crying. I think it was really, really fantastic. other than that's my spoiler-free thoughts. I think we should just dive in to what this movie is really about. So if you haven't seen the Banshees of Inisherin yet, turn off, go see it, come back and catch up with us. So it's never stated when it's set, but because of what is happening around the outside of the story, it's 1920s. There's this feeling on the island of Inisherin that there's this big sort of drastic change is right around the corner. And I think that is sort of what propels Brendan Gleeson's character to do what he's doing, where it's discovered that he's been very blunt with Colin Farrell at the start. He's like, I just don't like you anymore. We can't be friends because, and you know, basically you're just a bit too stupid for me.
Yeah, and it's boring.
Yeah, it comes down to because they spend every day at the pub together. They have the same routine. Podrick will walk down to Colin's house, knock on for him. They'll go down to the pub and they'll spend hours there. But Colin has realised, like, I'm not going to be remembered for sitting in the pub chatting about Podrick's donkey shit all day. I want to be remembered. It was my pony shite.
Shows how much you were listening.
So he decides that I want to be remembered for something. So he decides to dedicate all this now free time that is away from Colin Farrell to write a piece of music. This is on his fiddle. This is going to be his masterpiece, he decides. But there's a lot going on with other characters as well. Podrick's sister Siobhan, again, seems to just be in such a static place. She's not going anywhere. She doesn't feel like she's got the life she should have on this island.
It's like she's like not in like a mean way, but she's like too good for the island. Like she's too smart.
I mean, she's the smartest one there. That's brought up.
Yeah,
I thought the relationship was beautiful between Podrick and Siobhan as well. But, you know, Podrick doesn't have a bad word to say about his sister. He loves his sister more than anyone in the world, and I think there's moments where she sees that in him, and it's beautiful. They both killed it performance-wise.
Yeah, I think their relationship was one of the best parts of. I think that's is like the highlight of this movie is his relationship with basically every character. Because I don't think any of them, I wouldn't say that any of them are better than the rest. I think they're all equally amazing. Like his, like he gets, like, you know, they keep saying that he's dim-witted and he's boring, and then he hangs out with Barry Keoghan's character, who's also boring, but he's also a lunatic. And then
there's a great scene when they're having dinner, and Barry Keoghan's character comes over for dinner because he wants to spend the night away from home. There's a lot going on there, and he uses the word touche, and Colin Farrell's like, "What?" And he goes, "Touche, it's from French." And Colin Farrell is there's just this little subtle expression he does. It's like, "Fuck, I might be the dumbest one here."
Yeah,
like
it's just that little glimmer of intelligence from him.
Yeah,
that sets him off like, fuck.
Because he's been like, am I the stupidest one on this island? And everyone's like, no, you're not. I mean, look at him.
Yeah.
and then he comes out with that.
And there's the bit when he's just like, I think, Kerry Conlon's like, you told me you'd get rid of him if he was being stupid. And he's like, he's not being stupid, he's being creepy.
Very good.
Barry Keoghan's character as well. Scene stealer.
Again, just a performance that I think at the minute only he could pull off.
Yeah,
it was very much a him role. I couldn't imagine anyone else as that character.
Initially, you think he's just the village idiot, basically, and he's just some I say comic relief as if the film already isn't funny, but he's just like, you know, he is the
reliable one. When he turns up, you know you're going to get a few laughs.
Yeah, but like he is like the most tragic character. Like, and he's the one that you feel the worst for, and he has the shittest life.
Yeah.
And I think Barry Keoghan's like one of the only people about at the minute who can do all that, but still make him like.
He carries this sort of naivety with him that no matter how rough things are getting, he still holds his head up high and trucks on.
Yeah, and it's quite like endearing to the fact that like he is an idiot, but he is, despite how stupid he is and how creepy he can be, he is a lovable idiot.
Yeah,
like you like even when he is being creepy, you just think, oh,
he's harmless.
Yeah, you're not a bad guy. You're just a bit weird.
Yeah, he's not ill-willed. He's just he just doesn't get it. That's there's a few connections missing. The deeper sort of subtext behind this story is there is a civil war raging on just over the water, and we throughout the movie we're reminded of it. We'll hear cannon fire, and characters will react, and sometimes characters will just briefly talk about what's going on. And I thought that's really what this film is about. This relationship at the forefront of the story is in ways just an allegory for what is happening over the water. It's a brotherhood deteriorated by ideologies that is just made irreparable by the violence committed on both sides. And by the end, you're like, well, they're never gonna make up. This has gone too far.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, there is part of you through the whole movie that just thinks, oh no, they're gonna make it up. They're gonna make it up. I reckon they are. But then something happens that's like, you feel like they're about to come back together. Something happens, and they're even further away than they were in the beginning.
Yeah, because it's just an escalation.
Yeah,
all the way through. And I don't think we've not even mentioned that what is really the consequence of what happens by Colin deciding not to talk to Podrick anymore is he says, if you don't go with me on this and you keep talking to me, every time you talk to me, I'm going to cut one of my own fingers off. And you don't buy it. He doesn't buy it. Nobody sort of goes for it. And Barry Keoghan's like, well, aren't you a bit curious? So maybe just try it. And if he cuts a finger off, then he's serious and leave him the fuck alone. Yeah. Obviously, his sister's like, no, don't push this because we know this guy, and I think he's gonna stick to his word. He cuts one finger off. A horrifying scene. You see him walking up to Podrick's house with a bloody hand, and he just throws his finger at the door.
It's the thump, like it's such a loud thump.
Yeah.
Because he's got these massive, like sausage fingers.
And it's also the look on Brendan Gleeson's face is just like, you've driven me to this. I told you. I'm not happy that I've done this to myself, but I fucking told you.
I loved the bit when Colin Farrell goes outside, he picks it up, and he comes back in, and his sister keeps asking him what was that, and he's like, "Who was at the door?" And he's like, "What?
What?
The door? Eventually, who was at the door?" And he's like, "Oh, the finger. It was a finger. It's a finger." And then he's walking around the house, and she's like, "What are you doing with it?" He's like, "I'm gonna put it in a box."
I'm gonna take his finger back to him.
It's like, "No, you stupid." He's like, "No." He's like, "No, we talked about that. We know I'm not stupid."
And then he says, "You know what?" He's like, "Fuck it. If he comes again, the other 4 are coming straight off."
Yeah,
because I've had it. And then a similar scene, walks up to the house, throws the rest of his fingers, and that's the sacrifice he's willing to make as well to get his point across, is because he needs these fingers to play the fiddle to create his music.
Yeah. It's weird, like, because he's really going through like something that I think most people will think about at some point in their lives. He essentially, like, he has those scenes.
He's aware of how much time he's got.
Yeah, like he when he goes to church, he's got that sense of dread, and he decides
despair.
He wants to leave.
Any despair this week?
Yeah, despair. And he decides afterwards that he wants to essentially just leave a stamp on the world to show that he was ever here.
Yeah.
And Podrick's just so happy to just hang out with his friend, have boring, nice conversations. And that's just, some people strive for more, and some people are just, he's just happy being where he is.
Content. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've got it written down here. I was like, the real tragedy comes from Podrick, who's just so confused by the realization of how quickly everything can change. Because he would have been happy tending to his animals and spending hours of his day at the pub with his friend until the day he died. And it seems that all of a sudden there is this radical shift happening on the island, and everything seems to be crumbling down around him. He loses Jenny, his favorite animal, due to the conflict between him and Colin. Not maliciously,
she
an
chokes
accident
on his finger.
But again, an allegory for the war going on. There is going to be collateral.
Yeah.
And then, of course, later we see Dominic was his name, wasn't he? Barry Keoghan's character.
Yeah, I think
Dominic.
so, yeah.
We see later he slipped, fell in the river, and in the lake. Sorry, and died. And it's just again, like, those were the last two sort of connections he had left on this island. After his sister left, she got a job on the mainland, and obviously Colin is going through what he's going through, and those were his last two touchstones of friendship left. And they've
you say slipped. Is it not implied that he kills himself?
Well, it's stated that he slipped. He's probably slipped in the river. You see him slip earlier when he's asking Siobhan out when he stood on the bank, and he does slip a bit.
Because just how I came away from it, like, I thought they were like, I probably just slipped, but he's such a tragic character, and the fact that they talk about, like, his dad essentially, like, we see his dad beats him, and his dad implies that his dad molests him, and then he asks out Kerry Condon's character, and she turns him down nicely. But I just think, for me, that's how I took it. I don't know if, like, it's supposed to be a definite thing. I know he did slip, but, like, I came away thinking
I could see either one happening, because there is that tragedy behind him which would drive him to do such a thing, but then there is that inherent dullness that he probably would just fall in the water.
Also, there was one I mentioned earlier about something that I wasn't sure about, but it keeps happening. Is it? I know they discuss the fact that they ask themselves, like, is Brendan Gleeson's character ill? Like, does he have? Assuming they mean like dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. There's a scene after when Podrick gets drunk in the pub, and then he, like, kicks off, and then the next day he goes to the beach and he apologizes to Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
That whole scene felt really weird to me, because it didn't really seem like he knew what he was talking about. Do you know what scene I'm on about?
Colin didn't.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he knew what he was on about. He was being really vague, and he never, like, he's like, what are you talking about? And, like, I don't know if that was supposed to imply that maybe there is something wrong with him.
I think, I mean, again, it could be interpreted as that way, or he was like, what are you talking about? Because Colin Farrell was obviously just rambling, because he also didn't have much of a clue about what happened. Yeah,
I don't know. It was a weird.
Yeah, I didn't read it that way, though. That's an interesting way to look at it.
I don't know. I found it jarring, because I did think, like, it seemed like he was so, like, it felt like he was disassociated from the moment. Like, he genuinely didn't know what he was talking about, because he looked genuinely baffled. But then it might just be, he's just fucking fed up.
I took him being baffled as, like, I can't believe he's not got it yet.
Yeah.
It's because he hears that Colin says, when he was going off at him, he says that was the most interesting he's ever been. So he's like, oh, I found a way in now. He just wanted me. It was all a lesson. He just wanted me to stand up for myself. But no, he just wants you to leave him alone. This escalates, and we talked about Jenny dying, a really sad scene. And then that makes Podrick finally snap. And he goes to the pub and he says, I'm coming to your house tomorrow, 2:00, and I'm burning the fucker down. Whether you're in it or not, it's going.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing. This is my revenge.
And he said he's not going to check whether or not he's in there.
Yeah, but because it is stated a few times that Podrick is the nice guy. Because, maybe because he hasn't got that much going on up there. He is just so inherently nice and happy. So when he does go and he sets the fire, before he leaves, he needs to look.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't? I'd look immediately.
I know what's
curiosity, but the curiosity would just do my head in. I'd have to know.
Yeah.
And then he just goes off with his dog.
Yeah.
And there's that horrible old woman who is the Banshee.
The Banshee of Inisherin. Yeah.
Because what he says, he talks about them a bit, doesn't he? And he says, I don't think that they like. He's like Banshees aren't around. He says, I think he says like Banshees aren't around anymore, as if they ever were. And then Brendan Gleeson says that he thinks that they just watch and watch everything unfold. And she's
always watching. She's this ominous presence on the island, like a harbinger of bad things to come.
There's a bit though with her that really tickled me near the beginning when she goes round to theirs to like visit.
Yeah,
and then she's like, his sister's like, we barely get a chance to see each other, and he's like, that's because you hide whenever she comes in here.
I don't hide.
He's like, you hide behind walls.
And then he does that later.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's it for my notes on this movie. I think we've
covered
gone
pretty much
through it.
everything.
Or have you got any last thoughts?
No, I just think everyone's performance in this was top tier.
I think Academy Awards, this is one of the movies this year that I think is going to be a definite front runner for a lot of things.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Music by Carter Burwell. She done I don't know if she's done all of Martin McDonagh's previous movies, but I know she's at least done a couple. And cinematography by Ben Davis, who he's got a lot of credits to his name, but he did like Eternals, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange. But the cinematography in this looked incredible. I think Colin Farrell is an easy contender for Best Actor, and I would put Kerry Condon in there as supporting as well. Obviously, there's stuff like picture, director, screenplay. I think is a lock.
I reckon Barry Keoghan could be Best Supporting.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously depends what else comes out the rest of the year, but it's not like a subtle performance that he's giving off like Colin Farrell a lot of the time, but that is such a him role. I just can't imagine anyone else pulling that off so convincingly.
Just a little sad weirdo.
Yeah, but in his own way, he's got this sweetness about him, even though he's.
You can make the argument that he's just as nice as Podrick, because actually there's the bit as well that when Podrick talks about, he sends that guy away. He tells him that his daddy's been hit by a bread van, and then that guy's like, it's not possible. And he's like, what do you mean it's not possible? He's like, me mammy was hit by a bread van as
well. that might have been the biggest laugh in the movie for me. That killed me.
That killed me as well. It was so funny.
What a perfect build to that punchline.
And it was just a stupid punchline as well. Like, it's not
funny though. That is
it's
brilliant.
So funny. But when he tells him that story, even Dominic seems to be like a bit turned off to him then.
Yeah, I thought you were the nice guy on this island. Why would you do something so devious?
Yeah.
Such as that, yeah.
I reckon you could make the case for that, and like anything that bad that he says is because he is an idiot.
Yeah, he's simply not aware
of
the connotations of some of the things he says. He's got all the best intentions, but not enough to back it up. Right. So let's rate this out of 5. You can go first.
4.5. I've basically no notes. I don't really know what would have edged it towards that 5 for me, to be honest. But I think purely because the same like trio did In Bruges, which is one of my favorite films, and the fact that I didn't
stretches it out for you.
Yeah, I think it just knocks it back slightly, but pretty much no notes. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Film of the year. It's one of the films of the year. I mean,
yeah, for sure. When I first came out of this, I did have it at 4.5 on Letterboxd, but I think since seeing it, it has really stuck with me. The jokes, the characters, the dialogue. So yeah, I think I'm going to bump this up to a 5 for me. Yeah.
Is this your first 5 of the year?
It's my first. Man, we've had Top Gun, we've had Batman.
Oh, yeah.
What else? What else got a 5?
I was going to say that you throw out 5s left, right, and center, but both of those movies you mentioned, I was like, 5s.
Let me have a look. So we got Top Gun, we got Batman, I've got Nope at a 5. We didn't review it, but I've got Nope at a 5, and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I still need to watch that.
You haven't?
No.
Speaking of Oscars, that is gonna rack up nominations.
Yeah, well, that's now one of the things that everyone has said to me how amazing it is. That I've now it's been built
it's
up
got to that
much.
point. Yeah, no, I get you.
When Calvin tells you something's 5 stars, then I feel like I'm going to come out of it and be like, I'm just going to panic and be like 1 star.
No, yeah, get yourself in the mood. It's an experience. It's a journey, but it's worth it. I need to go back and watch it one more time, I think. Anyway, that is everything for our review of the Banshees of Inisherin. Like I said at the top, go to our Twitter, Keeping It Real UK, find everything on there. We'll see you again this week for our review of Black Adam. Black Adam. Which I can't wait for. That I feel like that's going to be a long one.
Yeah, I think
I've got a lot to say about Black Adam. But until then, keep it real.